the message for, as it relates to the trade war, of just deal with the pain, especially tough for our farmers. South Carolina agricultural, especially here in Aiken. What's the follow-up message to those farmers who've been dealing with the pain already they don't want to deal with anymore?
Well, in terms of China, if we don't take them on, we're going to pay more later. I would tell the farming community, the manufacturing community, you can't let China destroy the American economy. If you don't push back now, when are you going to push back? The first thing that happens in any trade dispute is agricultural products. The president is supplying $16 billion back into the farming community. We're collecting tariffs off Chinese products, but China has a $500 billion trade deficit with us. They sell us $500 billion more products made in China than we sell to them, and over time that hurts our economy. They cheat us out of market share, so there's more pain to surrender to China than there is to fight China. So just see this through. The president's got them on the run. Their economy is suffering more than ours, but to be honest with you, there's no way to bring China to heel without confronting them, and when you confront them, there's going to be some economic pain here at home. Prices may go up in Walmart because Chinese products coming into the United States will be a little higher because of the tariffs. But the long-run goal is to have a better balance of trade, make them buy more of our stuff, make them buy more farm products, open up their markets to American business so you can go to China, do business in China without having everything you own stolen. So you pay now or you pay later when it comes to China. I'm behind the president.
Senator, yesterday Representative Joe Wilson was here in Newberry Hall, and he said the NDAA could be conferenced mid-September, early September. Do you think it'll do right by the Savannah River site? Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, I think we're going to get a good number for the site. The MOX program is just a good example of what's wrong with the federal government. You start a program, you study it for about 20 years, then you decide on a strategy to turn weapons-grade plutonium into a plowshare. The MOX solution was picked by 2 administrations. Now it's being abandoned to go to a new technology that I don't think will ever bear fruit. So I want to get the material out of South Carolina. I want to keep the site viable, but the budget for the site's going to be good. Sequestration would kill the Department of Defense and Energy, and that's going to be set aside in this budget.
And one quick follow-up. The metric ton has been removed to satisfy that court order. Do you have any comment on that one?
Yeah, if it weren't for the court lawsuit, it wouldn't be removed. I want all of it out, because we made a deal with the Department of Energy. We would take the weapons-grade plutonium, turn it into MOX fuel to be used in commercial reactors. That deal has been broken now. I don't believe dilute and dispose is ever going to work. I don't think New Mexico is going to accept the material, so I want to get it out of the site. We've been a really good partner with the Department of Energy. They have not been a very good partner with us, and now it's time for them to pay the price for breaching the agreement they made with the state of South Carolina.
Do you think all the pits should be removed?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. One, pit production, they're talking about making 80 pits. I'll believe that when I see it. The budget in the House has no money for extra pits beyond Los Alamos, so I'm not going to buy a pig in a poke again. Anything that comes to the site is going to be sustainable, and this is a defining moment, I think, for the Department of Energy. The way they treat South Carolina is going to have a ripple effect in terms of other states willing to deal with the Department of Energy.
Why was it important for you to fight for that?
Just because I want to make sure that agreements are honored. When the federal government makes an agreement with South Carolina, I want it to be honored. We were willing to accept 34 metric tons of plutonium over time to be processed through the MOX system to turn into commercial grade fuel. A good deal for the site, a good deal for the world. That program has been abandoned. And what they're talking about now is diluting the material and storing it in New Mexico. The only problem with that is that New Mexico is not on board, and I just think this is a case study of what's wrong with the government. You get 70% of the facility built, you change your mind in midstream.
The president has proposed withdrawing troops from Afghanistan, 14,000 down to about 8,500. You've said that you're going to propose legislation as a kind of, whoa, hold the brakes on that. Why?
Well, 8,600 I think is enough to keep us safe, but we'll never get a deal with Al-Qaeda or ISIS. You might get a deal with the Taliban, but I hope it's a good deal. Hope we don't throw Afghan women back into soccer stadiums run by the Taliban to be killed for sport. That would be a stain on our honor. The young women and men of Afghanistan are be good partners over time, but when it comes to ISIS and Al-Qaeda, they intend to hit the United States. They intend to destroy Israel. The only question is, do they have the capability? If we leave some of our forces behind, a counterterrorism force, keep our foot on their throat, they will never attack America again. If we pull all of our troops out and count on the Taliban to take care of al-Qaeda and ISIS to protect America, that would be a huge mistake, worse than Iraq. I hope the president won't do that. I don't believe he will, but every intelligence report, every military advisor, the entire national security team of President Trump has said that if we pull the plug on Afghanistan and go to zero, it's just a matter of time till al-Qaeda and ISIS regenerates and come our way. If we keep a small force, 10% of what we had in the past, we can keep America safe.
Do your colleagues support that legislation you plan to propose?
I think so. I'd hate to be a member of Congress who did not want to hear from the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense about the consequences to the American homeland to go to zero in Afghanistan. We had 140,000 troops at the height of the war. We're now at about 8,600 to 10,000. 10% of what we had in the past will keep us safe. I give President Trump a lot of credit putting pressure on the Taliban. They may do a peace deal. They're tired of fighting, but al-Qaeda and ISIS will never be at the peace table. You have to have a wall between us and them, and that wall is our forces in Afghanistan. You cannot count on the Taliban to protect America. You can count on the American military intelligence community to protect the homeland.
Do you have any comment regarding kind of the injection of Iran on the G7 meeting?
Yeah, I thought that was a low blow by France. I thought it was unfair to the president to put him in that box. I don't mind talking with the Iranians, but we're not going to lift sanctions. Why are we dealing with Iran the way we are? They have dismembered the Mideast. They're the largest state sponsor of terrorism. The original deal with Obama had no limits on their ability to wreak havoc in the region. They constantly threaten the state of Israel. They hijacked ships on the high seas. They held American sailors hostage and humiliated them. They're the largest state sponsor of terrorism. I don't mind talking with Iran, but to do a deal with Iran, you got to know who you're dealing with. They're religious Nazis. There is no good deal that will allow them to enrich and reprocess uranium or plutonium. They can have nuclear power. The Arabs can have nuclear power, but the fuel has to be supplied outside the Mideast. If Iran won't accept that deal, it tells you all you need to know about their ambitions. And their ambitions are to make a nuclear bomb, not produce nuclear power.
We've had quite a few school threats here locally in this area.
Yeah.
Do you support any gun legislation right now?
I'm working on red flag grant programs, protective order grant programs. We'll leave it up to the states to whether or not they want a protective order statute or red flag law, but if you do pass one with due process to protect the gun owner, there'll be some money for the police to hire mental health professionals to evaluate what cases to take to court. Under my proposal, it will be a grant to the states. It will not be a federal law. There'll be plenty of due process. The money will be used to hire mental health professionals to evaluate what cases to go to court. I'm very sensitive to gun owners' rights, but I'm also sensitive to the problem we face. 40 visits by the cops to the shooter at Parkland in Florida. FBI hotline tip that he was going to shoot people at a school. He had a social posting he was going to kill people at the school. Nobody did anything about it. The Dayton shooter had a rape list and a kill list. He was so disruptive they had to shut the school down he attended. None of that was dealt with. So we need to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people. We need to protect the due process rights of lawful gun owners, but we cannot ignore this problem any longer.
What are your thoughts on banning assault weapons at this time?
It's not the gun, it's the person with the gun. I own an AR-15. I'm a responsible gun owner. My goal is to keep any gun out of the hand of somebody who's mentally unstable or filled with hate and rage. That's the goal. It's not the gun, it's the person with the gun.